Ladies and gentlemen, so Amazon's new MMO New World launched. You remember we checked out the beta, and now it's time to jump into launch. So, I'm not going to continue playing this. This is certainly not a video bashing on New World, but I should explain why we're not going to continue looking at this one. Let's have a look. So welcome to New World, the official launch. And the launch, depending on where you were, was probably a little questionable, but for me, it was absolutely fine. We had an immediate come up. They did this staggered release where certain areas, and the UK was one of the first ones, or Europe, and then later on the US got their realms, although you could reserve your name. But they immediately came up, logged straight in, had a smooth experience. Only after about an hour did we run into a lag spike where they literally seemed to reset the server without disconnecting us and then letting us back in to carry on playing. So probably about 15 minutes of downtime. Obviously, the queues, though, have been a major issue for a ton of people. Now, that did not affect me, luckily. I got to play for the entire first day, and then they launched more servers in the evening, allowing for a smooth no-queue login on the second day. So that made my experience, thankfully, very, very good. Now, some things that I immediately noticed while playing the game was that they'd slowed some things down from the beta, namely the weapon skill leveling. This was something I was really excited about, as essentially this is the classes of the game. You don't have a class that you choose, your weapons, or the two weapons you choose, dictate what your role is, whether you want to be a ranged or a healer, or whether you want to be a melee character. So I was looking forward to using hatchet and spear. That's what I was going for, but after a full day of playing, around about 8 or 9 hours was my first session with the game, I'd only unlocked like 4 skills with the hatchet, despite the fact I hadn't even used my second weapon. So a little bit put off by that. When I did swap to the spear on the second day, though, I noticed it gave me those first couple of levels very quickly and then immediately slowed it back down. And it's also contrasted with the idea of the crafting gathering leveling that we'll get to in a second. So the first thing I wanted to do, knowing how the game kind of worked from the beta, was to jump into some PvP grinding from the mission board. After we chose our faction, we decided to go and do the PvP stuff because that rewards a lot more resources despite giving slightly less experience. And this is where first sort of red flags popped up for me a little bit, as it became very, very clear that most people were just not interested in doing that at all and just wanted to power level. Certainly there was no PvP at all. We did barely anything other than chase one guy for like 10 minutes because we were just like looking for something to do. And most people were just ignoring any forms of combat in order to just get the quest done and get back. Very much reminded me of War Mode in World of Warcraft, where in fact most people turn on War Mode when it's convenient, yet they don't really want to PvP, they just want the bonus rewards for having the thing on. So you'll often bump into the enemy faction, yet PvP is not really on the cards. So we actually did that until we had fully capped our resource for our faction. We couldn't buy anything else, and we couldn't get anything else. So it was then time to swap over to the quest leveling. As many of you probably know who've tried New World, but I'll explain it here for those of you who haven't or are still on the fence about New World. One of the complaints I had in the beta is that they really didn't have any real quest variety. Realistically, all the quests in the game, certainly on the PvE side, are a variation of about 3 different quests. You're going to get sent to an area, you're going to have to kill a few enemies, something like 5 to 8. You're going to have to loot some boxes, something like 4 to 5. That's that quest going to complete. You're going to go back. It's going to give you the exact same quest again. I mean, literally the exact same quest in the same area until the quest board updates, which I think is roughly every 20 minutes, something like that. So if you do the quest quickly and go back, you can end up, and we did end up doing the same quest 3 or 4 times, just running out, getting it done. Especially if you had 2 quests in the same area, you could run out, do both quests, go back, turn it in, go back, do the exact same quest again. And this is only while you're around level 10 to 12. So it really started to get on my nerves a little bit, the repetitive nature of it. The main story stuff is really breadcrumb trails to take you to different areas. So you might get a quest such as travel to this town, which is really, really far away, just to talk to somebody, and they will have the same quests again that you've been doing in the previous town, but now it's in a different area. Now, it can't be understated how lavishly beautiful the areas in New World are. They are extraordinary, and realistically, the tree cutting and the block mining that people meme on is so well put into the world. Like, it's seamless. It really is quite seamless how well they've managed to put all the trees, because it's such a dense game that even while we were playing and I was starting to feel like that, I'm not really feeling this, that I could just appreciate the sunset going down and things like that. It was really quite beautiful to play. Well, at this point, this is where the leveling started to be like, this is kind of just a grind. This is kind of just grinding it out, and we really don't have much variety yet. Yes, there are dungeons in the game. The lack of mounts, obviously, is a big concern with a lot of players, because, like I said, the main story quests tend to be breadcrumbs that take you on a long journey, and that might be 2 kilometers, and that's, it's a 10-minute run around in order to get there. So what you ended up doing, or at least I felt I ended up doing, was doing the story is kind of inefficient. What's more efficient is taking the exact same quests over and over again that are located really close to the town where you get them and just doing them over and over again, because you get a lot of experience if it's the PvE stuff, decent amount of rewards to buy more gear, and you can do them extremely quickly. So, like, efficiently, you would kind of feel like you want to do this area over and over again until you out-level it, and then make the journey, and then just do the same thing in the other area. So what I decided to do was not, like, poo-poo the game from there. That wasn't the idea. I decided on the next day to try the crafting leveling, because you can choose any number of ways of leveling in New World. So one of the other options you can do is gathering, hunter-gathering. You can go out and you can skin animals, you can mine trees, you can stay in one area for a good hour, 2 hours, literally just grinding away, collecting wood until your inventory's full, go back in, use the crafting systems to do things, and that gives you experience, and gathering the wood and stuff is experience as well. And you do get that feeling when you're playing that, you know what, I could do what I would do in a World of Warcraft or a Final Fantasy, is I could literally just come and chill here for a few hours and just do some fishing. And I would get experience from that as well. So I tried that for the second day. Unfortunately, what became apparent to me really is you start to fall behind even more with your weapon skills, because you're not really utilizing combat other than killing animals. So you only level your weapons by actually utilizing them in combat. So you can go out and get a lot of experience, but then you're going to have to go back out and start farming up other weapon skills and things. Now, these are all really minor complaints. I want to be honest with you. These are all really minor complaints. I actually think the main thing that is, and this was kind of where I drew it to an end. I was like, I'm not really feeling like just grinding this out right now. So I'm going to leave it there for now, because I do intend to come back to New World, just not in its current state. It needs a little bit more for me, and this is where people get really angry with me, because it's like, I'm loving New World, and yeah, that's great. It's just my personal take on this, is for me, I need a little bit more spice, a little bit more pepper. I need a little bit more stuff going on during that leveling process, rather than it very quickly feeling like a grind, which is what it felt like to me. And I'm sure that a big part of why I felt that way is I just came off Final Fantasy XIV, and not to be like, it's the greatest game in the world or anything, but it's certainly in a better state for the way I like to play than New World is. And there's a lot more for me to do there. So that's how I felt about it. It's like, you know what? I want to come back to this. It feels a little undercooked for me in the PvE, in the leveling areas in general. This feels a little bit undercooked. There's an end game waiting for me there, but I'm not willing to go through that yet, when I can go over here and join in with that. So that's what I decided to do. Is I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm then going to move over to Final Fantasy for a bit. I'm going to carry on with that and come back to New World probably when they've done a little bit of work on it. Because as we all know, New World started as very much just PvP focused. But I think Amazon underestimated the amount of MMO players which are very PvE focused, and then they tried to put in the PvE stuff later. Now, as we all know, MMO development takes an extraordinary amount of time. Like, it's a crazy amount of time. And even though they did delay the launch of New World, there was no way they were going to overhaul their entire PvE and quest system from the beta in that time. And what they did do is slow some things down, which was it rubbed me the wrong way anyway. So I'm gonna leave this one there. This is a game that for people who really enjoy it are going to get an absolute kick out of it. For anybody who loves just farming, going out and farming and crafting and doing all that stuff and being that guy, I think you're going to have an absolute whale of a time. For me, who can only do that for a period of time before I'm like, I really need to get my hands dirty. I need to get in the mud. I need to get in the filth. And I need to start stabbing some things up. And that being a little under-rewarding as far as I'm concerned, that's when I'll come back, when that bit feels a little bit better. But to everyone else, I think you've got a fine game here. If those things that I described, like the just grinding it out. And I've been at odds with a lot of my audience a lot of time, because I don't like grinding. There's no secret there. I'm an MMO player for sure, but just grinding, that's never been for me. That has never been for me. So that's where I'm going to leave New World right there. So there you have it. This is definitely a decent game here. It's just not the right time for me, unfortunately. I definitely think I screwed myself by playing FF14 right up until New World, but I was ready to jump back into a new MMO, and FF is better, certainly right now. So I'm going to put this one to the side and then see if they do any updates or development things to really spice up that leveling grind, because going into an out-and-out grind, not for me right now. But check it out if it seems interesting to you. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.